I don't know. My enclosure is made out of plexiglass or Lexan, so I'm not sure if it will handle that weight on it. It may, I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell with this little funny. Lexan's a little funny. Sometimes it wants to crack. When I was turning the feed rate knob on the MPG on the pendant, what it was doing was changing this bar over here on the side, which is your override, feed rate override. It was actually upping that, so you could use that while you were machining. You could use the MPG to move this up and down, and you wouldn't have to use your mouse to do it like I am now. Yeah, that's kind of neat. That would be something useful as well. Very rare I do that. If I mess up and put the wrong feed rate in for a plunge feed rate or something like that, I would rather have the control that I have here to be able to reset it immediately before it goes into full feed. Touch the switch and then back off. This one I've been having a little issue with it. I'm not sure. It backed off that time. Just a couple of seconds for it to back off. See if I'll hit it again. It'll do a little quicker this time. Yeah, that's not too bad. It's maybe a second, but it is a little different. Not a lot different, but just a little bit different. So I'm getting 200 inches per minute rapids with the servos. So you see it runs pretty quick. This is 100 inches per minute. Takes a long time to get used to how fast these servos move. Doesn't seem fast now, but when I first started using these servos, it was a lot faster. It was 40 inches faster than what I could run before. So 40 inches is quite an improvement. And then when you go 200, it's quite an increase there for that. So yeah, it's plenty quick. That's plenty quick for the range of motion that I have on the machine. The Z also has no problem moving that head. That's 200 inches a minute there, no problem. 100 inches a minute. Of course, there would definitely not be a problem with 100 inches a minute. If it'll do 200, it'll do 100, no problem. So I have no problem with the servos whatsoever. You can see these really nice molded connectors on the servo end of the cables. The opposite end, it had a open connector on it. It was not molded like this. It was here. So I just hooked it up to my bus here for the 75 volts coming out of the power supply. Here's the connectors. They're not molded. They're just Molex connectors. They're two-prong connectors. And this is the communication cable. This is the end that I cut off. You could make your cabinet, which I think my buddy Jeff, he went through the pain of making all of his connections with these like this. He had his end panel on his control box cut out, laser cut, so that the connectors that the female side that these plug into, actually fit really tight in the enclosure panel versus what I did, which is I cut the end off and then I just made all my wire connections individually on the board itself. The blue wire at the bottom right there is the enable power for the servos. I'm picking it up off of my safety charge pump, which is pin 17, and I have it set so that when the safety charge pump comes on, it enables my servos. So that's how I get movement from my servos. If you do not have this wire hooked up, you will not get movement out of the servo. It will sit there and be a amber light on your servo. Your servo indicator light will be amber. It will sit there until time ends. You have to plug this in. It has to get a, I think it can go as high as 12 volts. I'm not positive on that. I'm using 5 volts. There's a 5 volt power coming from pin 17, and the red wire up there, that's not a jumper wire that comes out of that cable tray, that is the ground. Now red going to the servo, there's a red wire for ground and a blue wire for positive. So I kept it the same just to keep from getting confused. I kept all those wires the same. That way when I look in the manual and it said red is negative and blue is positive, I am coincidental with the instructions. It does do away with the confusion when you're reading the manual and you see 2 different color wires here and 2 different color wires in the manual itself. Smooth stepper, like I said, it's not hard to install at all. You can go Automation Technologies, but when you go to download the plugins for Mach 3 and the configuration file to set up the Ethernet port, it sends you to Warp 9. Their instructions were good enough and it was simple enough to hook up. I did not need any assistance. The plugin that you download from their site, you install it in Mach 3 plugins. You can see right there is the Ethernet IP setup, and then there's main configuration, data, monitor, home configuration, backslash. All of that stuff is loaded in, and this gets loaded in when you load in the plug-in. I actually downloaded it off of the internet on a thumb drive, and then I came and plugged it in, and my computer here does not have access to the internet. I don't let this computer communicate with the internet because I feel like it would cause problems with the CNC to, you know, do the CNC stuff. It would bog it down. So I don't let this computer communicate with the internet. Just runs the machine. It's totally dedicated to the machine. That's your Mach 3 folder. So you open it up and see if I can find the this plug-in right here is for the pendant. I would recognize that one. There's one somewhere for the smooth stepper. It gets loaded in when you unzip that download that you get on the website. It will download it, it will unzip it and insert it into this folder for you, and then it will it does it automatically. When you extract it, it does it automatically, and it will put this little thing here on the desktop. If you let it, you can tell it not to, and it will not put that on there. It will just delete it. I just let it put it up there. It doesn't hurt anything. But it's super easy. Like I say, it was super easy. It took me probably, I was super careful. I went, you know, really slow. I made sure I understood what I was getting ready to do before I did it. I'm not real tech savvy on stuff like that, like installing the plug-in.